Older Japanese who have lived overseas have been astounded upon visiting post-war Japan. The straight black hair of the past is all but gone. Even most geisha, the preservers of many feminine traditions, have permanence and wave their hair. Among ordinary women, one periodically sees extreme examples of hair that has been bleached with hydrogen peroxide or, more commonly, dyed a purplish or reddish hue. Plastic surgery, especially to alter eye folds and to build up the bridge of the nose, has become almost standardized practice among the younger movie actresses and indeed even among some of the male actors. There were examples of plastic surgery to be found before the war, but its wide popularity is something new. Contemporary Japanese men interviewed in the United States and Japan all agreed in valuing the whiteness of skin as a component of beauty in the Japanese women. Whiteness is very often associated in their minds with womanhood. Whiteness is a symbol of women, distinguishing them from men. With chastity and purity, whiteness suggests purity and moral virtue. Okay? In motherhood, one's mother image is white, linked with concerns for the skin's whiteness are desires that it also be smooth with a close, firm texture, a shiny quality, and no wrinkles, furrows, spots, or flecks. Some informers mention the value of a soft, resilient, and subtly damp surface to the skin. This quality, called mochihara, skin like pounded rice, in Japanese, has an implicit sexual connotation for some men. Although many young men accept the primary preference for white skin, they also admit that suntan skin in a young woman is of a modern healthy attractiveness. Some men contrasted such healthy charm to that of a beautiful tuberculosis patient whose skin is pale and almost transparent, a type of helpless beauty that represented tragic charm during the 1930s. Associated with brownish suntan skin as a beauty type are large western eyes, a relatively large mouth with bold lips, a well-developed body, and an outgoing gay personality. You could use the word gay back then, to give some type of description like they just gave. Now you can't even hardly say the word, so I am using it because it is what the author used to give a definition of what they were talking about as far as beauty standards. Such a creature with Western charm was held in direct contrast to the more traditional femininity of white skin. Less conspicuous physique, gentle manner, and quiet character. One finds these contrasts and stereotypes juxtaposed in popular contemporary fiction. There is some ambivalence about light-colored skin in men. Light skin suggests excessive intellectualism, more effeteness. Individuals who are impractical and concern themselves with philosophical questions of life, love, and eternity, and those who are unduly ruminative and lack the capacity to act. Among the women interviewed, there was a general consensus that Japanese women like to be white skinned, but that there is a type of modern beauty in women with suntan skin. The women believe that such women, however, when they marry and settle down, stop being sporty and suntanned. Such a girl will take care of her skin and become white. Several informants with working class backgrounds said that as children, they heard their mothers and other adult women talk about the fragile, white skinned women of the wealthier class who did not have to work outside. They remembered a certain tone of both envy and contempt in their mothers' voices. There is a tendency to associate white skin with urban and black skin with rural living. In this connection, a Japanese social psychologist who had visited Okinawa several times told us that many Okinawans become self conscious of their black skin when they meet Japanese from Japan. To Okinawan eyes, the Japanese appear to have whiter skin and therefore look much more refined and urban than do the Okinawans. There used to be a general association among the Japanese of white skin with wealth, black skin with lower economic status. The younger generations, however, increasingly tend to consider suntan skin as the sign of the socially privileged people who can afford summer vacations at the seaside or mountain resorts. With only a few exceptions, the women interviewed voiced the opinion that Japanese women like light brown skinned men, seeing them as more masculine than pale skinned men. Many women distinguished between a beautiful man and an attractive man. A beautiful man, bidanshi, is white skinned and delicately featured like a kabuki actor. Although he is admired and appreciated almost aesthetically, he is at the same time considered somewhat too feminine for a woman to depend upon. There is sometimes a reference to the saying, a beautiful man lacks money and might. On the other hand, an attractive man, kodanshi, is dusky skinned, energetic, masculine, and dependable. Women often associate light brown skin in a man with a dauntless spirit, a capacity for aggressive self assertion, and a quality of manly sincerity. A few of the women interviewed parenthetically mentioned that a woman concerned with her own black skin might want to marry a white skinned man, hoping thereby to give birth to light skinned daughters. A few younger women in favor of white skin, and a man said that a white skinned man is more hairy, or perhaps hair stands out better against a light background, and hairiness has a certain sexual appeal. Other women, however, expressed their dislike of body hair on a man. Some women mentioned a liking for copper brown skin tone. They associated this with manual outdoor labor, strong health, and masculinity, though not with intelligence. A reddish, shining face is thought to suggest lewdness in middle-aged fat men who have acquired wealth through shady activities. Such a figure stands in opposition to concepts of justice, sincerity, and spiritual cleanliness. The reddish face of a drinking man may look satisfied and peaceful to some women, though it is hardly considered attractive. In these interviews with both men and women, the present attitudes toward Caucasian skin seem to fall in the opposites of likes and dislikes, depending seemingly upon the degree of an individual's receptivity toward or identification with Western culture. These two opposite attitudes may coexist within an individual, either appearing alternately or being expressed simultaneously. Somewhat more than half of both men and women interviewed in California, and about two-thirds of those interviewed in Japan, considered Caucasian skin to be inferior to the Japanese from the standpoint of texture and regularity. This stereotype was among the negative attitudes expressed in the interviews. I am going to come back and start off with that part from the top because this gets very interesting. But the discussion is, again, so plastic surgery, straightening of their hair. Fast forward to 2024, and I have seen videos of Asians kinking their hair up, coiling locks, They have this chemical process that they put on their hair to achieve what African descended people naturally possess, and some of us don't want to wear our own hair. The Japanese woman, if she had a dark complexion, wanted to marry a white-skinned man in hopes of giving birth to light-skinned daughters. This, as you can see, is not just a colonial mindset in the African. This is throughout all peoples who are not white. They desire the privilege that comes with the system of being white. Privilege is connected to white skin. So some Japanese college students felt that Caucasian skin meant to them purity, advanced civilization, and spiritual cleanliness, and that even the whitest skinned Japanese men weren't white enough to attract them. Is this how some black men and women feel and view their people as far as complexion? I'm reading this and I'm wondering if, well, it is giving me some insight as to how people of color view themselves in places and spaces. Like this Japanese guy or woman said that when he is around Caucasian friends and their Japanese friend joins the group, he looks at him and he looks yellow, even black to him, which makes him himself conscious momentarily, and he feels different in the group then. So that's some things to think about that we all go through that aren't of the majority. I am TB Waheed, Black Living Room Talk. I hope you enjoyed this section. So I will be right back to talk about the stereotype negative attitudes that they said that were expressed in the interview about Caucasian skin.